Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Zubair Altaf Qureshi and welcome to this video series of AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner. This is the second video, and in the first video I went on with the exam blueprint and I went on to show you guys the type of questions you will be asked and what should you expect, right? And second is I went through the contents of the exam and I explained all the modules that I'll be going through in this video series. So now in section 2 what I'm going to discuss is the overview of cloud computing. So if you are new to cloud and you don't know the basic terminologies of cloud computing, this is the section that you don't want to miss. Okay, once you are familiar with these words, then you will be okay with the cloud computing terminologies, right? So without wasting much time, let's start with the video. So overview of cloud computing. What is cloud computing? That is the first question that comes to your mind, right? So in this slide you can see me and you as a user, we are connected to the internet, right? It can be by any means. I mean, you can connect through internet via your service provider, or through a landline, through broadband, or through your mobile phone, right? Or through a wireless dongle, anything can happen. So you are basically connected to the internet and you don't care how you are able to access any services from Facebook, whether it be Facebook Messenger, whether it be Facebook games, whether it be Facebook videos, whatever. Or you are not concerned about how you are accessing all the services provided by Google, like Gmail, like Hangouts, like YouTube, right? And likewise, you're not bothered. You are just accessing those services from the cloud. Okay, so just concentrate on this word, from the cloud. So you access the cloud services through the internet, and that is called the cloud, right? So nothing fancy about it. Next is the terminologies that I want you to be familiar with and understand very properly, and you should know how to distinguish this, right? Some of the terms will sound familiar, but they will have a difference and you should know it. So the first thing is cloud computing. Computing means compute power, right? So description, as you can see, I've wrote cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT services from a third-party provider over the internet. So the word on-demand is very important in the cloud world. On-demand means whenever you need, right? So the on-demand delivery of IT services from a third-party provider over the internet. So you are connected to the internet and there is a provider apart from the ISP, the internet service provider. Apart from that, there is another provider on the internet that provides you some compute services, and that too on demand whenever you need. So that is the cloud computing. What are the cloud services? So cloud services can be many depending on the service provider. So as a service provider like AWS, at the present time it has more than 175 fully featured services. So services like EC2, services like S3, services like DynamoDB, service like RDS. So there are many services. So those are the services, cloud services. And what is cloud provider or cloud service provider? So the provider is AWS, or it can be Google, it can be Microsoft Azure, it can be Alibaba, it can be IBM, extra, right? So those are your cloud service providers. Okay, then who is the consumer? Consumer is me and you as an individual or as an organization, right? The organization or individual who uses the cloud services. Those are the consumers. The next thing is pay as you go or pay per use. That is the flexibility that cloud services and service providers provide you. So pay as you go or pay per use, right? So it's not your charge upfront, even though there are plans which grants you a lot of discount, but in general you say pay as you go or pay per use. So the services that you use on the cloud, you are going to pay for that only, and for the time you're using only for that period, right? Next terminology is multi-tenant. So multi-tenant means, just for an example I can say, just imagine there is a computer and there are multiple users, so that single computer is your infrastructure and the users are your customer. So all the customers use that single infrastructure, and according to their requirements they will consume the compute resources, right? So that is multi-tenant, and there are many options that you get when you're going with the cloud service providers, right, like AWS. So we'll see in the future videos. Then you have X as a service. So this X represents anything, right? So you might have heard about the terms. Let me just go through, grab my pen. Okay, let's take yellow. So you might have heard about the terms IaaS, right, or PaaS, right, or SaaS. What are these? Now this is XaaS. So these are like, this IaaS stands for infra, okay, as a service, and PaaS stands for platform as a service. Likewise, the SaaS stands for software as a service. Depends on you what you want. The service provider can be flexible. Now this represents anything as a service. So once you know all the services provided by the service provider, you'll get to know what this anything means. So for now, anything means, so you have all the services, right, in short. So some cloud capability is delivered to consumer as a service, that is called X as a service. So done with this slide, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, this is just an example of how the services of AWS will be used, right? So you as a customer or an organization are connected to the internet and you are trying to access a resource, say a website. So how that website is actually hosted on the cloud. So what you do is, these are called so there's a term that you need to just understand for now. These are the EC2 instances. Okay. EC2 instances. Okay, so these are like virtual machines. So you have 1, 2, and 3 virtual machines, and they're hosting a website. Okay, and that website is pulling the images and all that content from, say, images from a storage. So in this case, storage can be S3. So you will see that you have different options in S3. So that is how the AWS cloud works. So you can deploy the virtual machines in a cluster or in groups, and then you can fetch the data from the storage. Okay. So that is the enterprise example. Okay, next slide, I want to go and show you guys the ordering system. In the same way, you have an ordering system. You have a website where the customers come and order something, and you process the order, right, accordingly. So you can also take an example, say websites like Amazon or Flipkart or eBay, right? So what happens is, again, you are connected as a consumer, you're connected to the internet, and then the company like the Amazon.com or you could say the Flipkart, they have deployed the EC2 instances with the ordering system on it, and whatever data is stored, it is stored in the database. So in this case can be RDS, right? So this is the database, say RDS database or DynamoDB database. So this is the EC2 instance. So when an order comes, it will fetch the data, or store the data in the RDS, and you want the status, it will fetch the data from the RDS database. So that is how it works, right? So hope that is clear, and let's move on to the next slide. Okay, let me go back. Okay, yeah. So the next is key characteristics of cloud computing. So these characteristics you need to understand and memorize. So on demand and self-service. So as I told, this on demand is very important. A user can consume cloud resources as needed, automatically and without human interaction. So this can be possible. Okay, you can automate those things also. So it depends as you need, right? On demand. Okay. Broad network access capabilities are available over the network using standard mechanisms. Can be the internet or a wide area network. So you can connect this. Amazon gives you flexibility in this. Mostly we will be using the cloud services over the internet. So for other organizations, they can have a WAN network also that goes to the AWS point of connection, right? From that you have the high capacity connection going to the AWS data centers. So resource pooling, the provider's resources are pooled and serve multiple consumers using a multi-tenant model. As I told you, multi-tenant in the previous slide, so that is what it is again explaining to you. So you can pool the resources, right? And the clients will actually gain from the resources that have been pooled. So depends on your requirement, how you want to do it. So you can do a multi-tenant or you can do a dedicated. It again depends on your demand, your budget, all those stuff, because that will cost you money. Rapid elasticity. This is the scalability. It's amazing on any cloud services. Capabilities can scale elastically based on demand. So for example, now you have a website that is, during the seasons, the demand, the traffic goes high, and once the season is gone, the sales are off. You don't need those resources, right? So this is elastic. While as if you had a traditional data center, you might during the seasons you might run the say 100 virtual machines, right? But once the demand goes down, you're back to 50 virtual machines. What about the rest of the 50 virtual machines? They are lying like that only, but you have to pay for the maintenance, right? You have to pay for the electricity, you have to pay for the area again, right? So but here in case of cloud, that is not the case, because once you are done with the requirement, you can just turn off those resources, and that can be automatically done. You don't need to interfere like that. You can put them into an auto scaling group and monitor them, and set an alarm, say if this these CPUs utilization or RAM utilization goes above 70%, spin up new EC2s, new instances like that. So we'll come to new. And then you have major services, resource usage is monitored and metered. So it's monitored and metered. You can also monitor, and AWS is also monitoring the usage only. And the next slide is cloud computing services model. So I said, in my previous slide, I explained to you IaaS, PaaS, and SS. So here you can just see the differences. So on-premises is your traditional data center. You have the all the resources, all the hardware, all the racks and all those devices at your location. So that is on-premises. That is the legacy, or some people do have that right now, their own DCs, right? I will not say legacy, but that is called on-premises. So you manage everything from your hardware, from the power supply, from the security of the building, everything from the hypervisors, from the OS licensing, everything, runtime, data, application. you are managing every bit of it on premises. Then you have IaaS, infrastructure as a service. Now here what happens is you go on to the service provider and rent their hardware. So you need the compute power, right? The hypervisor. So that is what you rent from them, and then run the OS on top of it, and the application runtime data, whatever you will do. That is infra as a service. Then you have PaaS, platform as a service. So you are now giving out the responsibilities that you owned for the guest OS licensing and hypervisor licensing, and the cost for managing the hardware and everything to the service provider, and then you are just managing your application and the data, right? And then the last one is software as a service. So you are now giving everything up till application to the service provider, and he is responsible for everything, and now you just use the application, right? Software. So some of the examples of SaaS would be your say this Salesforce, right? And you have Office 365, so like that. So I mean, from left to right, the depending on the services that you want, the price decreases. Just keep that in mind. So it's not like you are going for SaaS and you have to pay more. No, because on premises, when you have, so when you go to SaaS, you are going to multi-tenant mode, right? So you don't care about the underlying infra, OS, nothing. You just want the software. You want the software application, right? While as on premises, you own everything. You have to manage everything, so you have to pay more. Likewise, AAS, like that. IaaS. If you're going for IaaS, then you have to pay for the licensing of the guest OS, patching, everything, right? So like that. Hope you understood the concept clearly. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so this is again the IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS examples. So system admin, right? I being a system admin, I go to my data center like that my company owns, and what are my daily tasks? I go and check the hypervisors. I go check the licensing, check the health monitoring, right? So once you are into the AWS world, cloud world, what you do there? You do the same thing, infrastructure. You have to manage the infrastructure, request a virtual server. You have to, spin up a virtual server, a VM, right? That is an EC2 instance. You spin up an EC2 instance as an administrator. So developer goes to a service that is AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So that just you can compare this Beanstalk with a compiler. So you upload the code, it runs the code, and you get either you get the failed message, error message, or you get the success message, right? So that's as a developer. And the sales team, they use the software SaaS, right? So you just need to log into, say, Office 365. You do your daily task, right? So that is another example. And one more slide that I have for this is the cloud computing deployment models. So this is again important to understand what private cloud means, what public cloud means, what hybrid cloud is, and what multi-cloud is. So let me go one by one on this. So the private cloud will be an enterprise that owns a data center. Enterprise deploys their own infrastructure and applications into their own data center. So as I said, on premises, right? So you are a big organization and you are owning your own data center, and data center will have all these racks, devices, and the softwares that they have to manage, right? So starting from the switches, routers, firewalls, everything, servers, right? Then on top of that, you are running the hypervisors. You are using, say, for example, VMware, and then you are using the OS, Microsoft, or Red Hat, OpenStack. All those licensing and all is just managed by you. So that is a private cloud. Now, public cloud is something like AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google, right? So the IT services that you consume are hosted and delivered from a third party and accessed over the internet mostly. Okay, you have other options also, but for now, just understand, accessed over the internet. Okay, then you have, so all the services that you had on premises in your data center are now provided by the service provider. That is public cloud. Okay, now you have hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is a mix of private and public. So you have some data that you are owning on premises, you are having on premises, and some services that you are running on the cloud. So that is hybrid cloud. So why should one go with this, right? Depends on the company. So you have some sensitive data that you don't want to share with the service provider like that. So you are keeping those sensitive informations in your private cloud, and other services that you are okay to run on the public cloud, you are running that. So you have that hybrid cloud kind of scenario. And then you have multi-cloud, usage of 2 or more public clouds at a time, and possibly multiple private clouds. So just mix again this. So you are using some services from AWS, some services from Microsoft Azure, some from Google Cloud Platform, and some you are having on your own data center. So that is multi-cloud. Hope you understood all these terminologies and the deployment models, right? So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so again I will go through the concepts that I've just gone through. So this is what your private cloud is. You have your own data center, right? Complete control of the entire stack, from the building security to the power consumption to the maintenance of the racks of the device. Licensing, everything is taken care by you. So you have security in a few cases. Organizations may need to keep all or some of their applications and data in the house. So what are the benefits of private cloud? Security. Main reason, security. It's secure. Second is your public cloud. Variable benefits are variable expenses. So expenses go down instead of capital expense. Economies of scale. Obviously, scaling is one benefit. And then massively elastic. Again, elastic is like scale. Okay, so next is your hybrid cloud. So as I said, you have some services in your private cloud, in your data center, and some on the public cloud, AWS, Google Platform, Azure. What are the benefits? Okay, allows companies to keep the critical application and sensitive data in a traditional data center environment or private cloud. Take advantage of public cloud resources like SaaS for the latest application and infra as a service for elastic virtual resources. Facilitates portability of data, apps and services, and more choices for deployment models. So we went through all the deployment models, right? So next is your legacy IT. This is just an example, comparison of your legacy IT and the expenses and the responsibilities that you have, right? So cost is very, very high when you are owning a data center, right? As I said, power, computing equipment, software licenses, maintenance contracts, staff wages, etc., etc. And then you have also operations, data center operations, security, equipment installation and maintenance, system monitoring and operation activities, backup, recovery, etc., etc. You have a lot of things to do in a DC data center. So the limitations: very capital heavy capex, need to purchase everything, operational overhead is high, scalability is very limited, right? Okay, so here I have mentioned 6 advantages of the cloud. Trade, capital expense of variable expense. So again, the expense as compared to the on-premises or the DC is very, very low. Instead of investing in data center before you know how you are going to use them, pay only when and for how much you consume. So this is again a huge benefit in the cloud. Benefit from massive economies of scale. Achieve a lower variable cost due to AWS scale. Right? So whenever you need to scale up, you can just scale up, and the cost is very low. You don't need to go and purchase hardware and then deploy those, and it would take months, right, to purchase the hardware and then install those hardwares. A lot of energy and time and money goes into that, but here it's so amazingly easy to deploy or scale your environment. Stop guessing about capacity. Yeah, that's again a big thing to take in consideration, eliminates guessing, scale as demand dictates, right? So don't guess like I want 2 servers or 3 servers, right? You just scale it. Increase speed and agility, easily and quickly scale your usage. Again, I said, right, scaling is not a big problem over here. Stop spending money running and maintaining data center. So maintenance of the data center is taken care by the AWS. So the physical security and the power consumption and all the licensing and all, depending on the deployment or the type of service you are going, is taken. That is again covered in the shared responsibility topic that we will be going through in the next lecture, right? So go global in minutes. Oh my god, this is so amazing. Easily deployed applications in multiple regions around the globe. So for example, you have consumer base in Europe and you have consumer base in Asia. So the people, if you had a data center, say you had a data center in India, right, and the people in India are experiencing very low latency, while as the people in Europe are because of the distance are facing latency. But here what you can do is you can deploy say some virtual servers in the Europe region and some few virtual servers in the Indian region. So both of those consumers will have very low latency to your services. Come on, you can go global in minutes. But while as deploying a data center in Europe and in India, it would be a nightmare. Best of luck for you. Getting those approvals. Yep. So that's it, guys. So next is our AWS cloud overview, and I'll be covering that in my next video. So if you like my content and the way I teach you, kindly please do subscribe to my channel and share my channel as much as possible, and do comment on the things that I can improve on, right? Your feedback is a plus for me, so don't worry. If you have any suggestions, kindly do comment in my section. Okay guys, for now, thanks and see you in my next video. Yeah, bye bye.